Hi, it's Brian Goulet of the Goulet Pen Company and the InkNouveau.com. Today's video is a Fountain Pen 101 continuation, and it's going to be focusing on storing your pens. I get asked this from time to time, what's the proper way to store your pens? Usually it's related to the pen's orientation. Should it be pointed up? Should it be on its side? Should it be pointed down? What's recommended? Well, I'm going to get all into that here, and first I want to lead off and say that there's really no right or wrong necessarily. It really comes down a lot to personal preference. So I'm kind of just going to show you how I do it, what my logic is, and show you what I've learned about storing your fountain pens. This right here may not be too unfamiliar sight to you. A common way to store your pens is in a desk drawer, thrown in there with some inks and some business cards or screwdrivers or nail clippers or what have you. This is my personal desk drawer, by the way. And yeah, there's usually all kinds of random stuff in here. And these are a couple of pens that I actually made back in the day, but I want to show you those because I don't want you to ask me about them. But this here is my desk, and maybe... Well, I don't think I've ever shown my desk before, but I keep my desk in kind of a cluttered state. You can see here it's kind of a disaster, and usually I have pens strewn about everywhere because I am working with pens all the time. But I have a drawer here that I have dedicated to a lot of my pens. You can see I've got all kinds of TWSBIs and Edisons and all kinds of cases and stuff back there. I have, but, you know, really the question I get asked a lot is what direction should you store your pens? Should you store them nib up? Should you store them sideways? Or store them nib down? And the question is, it really depends on your personal preference. Me personally, I store them horizontally almost all the time, mainly because that's how they come in the case. And I also like to store all my pens in leather cases, all my nice pens anyway. My cheaper pens, I just have some like cheap velvet rolls that I bought, I don't know, a long time ago. And I have, you know, all kinds of Pelicanos and things like that in there. If they're really inexpensive pens that I don't particularly care about, I might just kind of throw them in the drawer. And not that I don't care about them, but, you know, ones that I'm not worried about them getting scratched or what have you. But if I have some nicer pens, I will typically store them in a leather case. That's just my style. You can get like a hardwood case or something like that, but honestly, I don't know many fountain pen people that prefer to store them in like a big elaborate case. So I'm going to try to open this with one hand. See how I accomplish that. Okay, so this right here, this is my Edison case. So I've got a whole bunch of Edison pens in here. It's nice. I like having a case because it keeps everything together. And when I want to take it with me, I just grab the case and I'm good to go. Because I personally, you know, commute to work and I'm traveling back and forth all the time. I do have a couple of pens that I like to keep with me on hand pretty much at all times, and for that a single pen case like this comes in really handy. Here's my custom 74 that I keep with Liberty's Elysium all the time, and I've also got, I think, a TWSBI VAC 700 in here. So you know, if I'm going somewhere or traveling or just want to throw a single pen into my laptop case, that's usually what I go with. I've got some smaller cases here. This is Rachel's. This has all of her favorite pens of the moment. She's got her own case. I've got another one, and then I've got my Big Daddy 20 pen case that I keep everything in here. Just kind of keeps everything organized a little bit and what have you. But really the idea behind the way that you store your pens, if you store them horizontally, the ink is going to stay more or less at the nib so that you can pick them up and write with them just about any time. However, if you have some pens that tend to be very, very wet when you pick them up and start using them, that's when you want to store them nib up, because the ink is not going to have a tendency to fall by gravity into the pen or into the cap. If you have a pen that writes extremely dry, you may want to store it nib down so that that ink kind of has a tendency to go down towards the nib and it's more ready to go. That's kind of the logic behind it. But really, there's no right or wrong way to store your pens. It all comes down to, are the pens safe enough for your satisfaction? Are they protected enough so that you feel comfortable carrying them around in whatever fashion that you need to do? And also, are they ready enough to go and write with when you need them to do that? So that's pretty much what my opinion is on storing pens. As you can see here, my method is not exactly scientific in any way, but this is just in all practicality what I've been doing for about the last 3 years of storing my pens, and it's worked pretty well for me. I hope this was helpful to you. If you have any questions, you can always email me at brian@gouletpens.com. Thanks for watching my Storing Your Pens video, and write on.